Hello, welcome to Geeking Out with Shad. This video is going to be about going solar. And you'll notice in the video that yes, I have a Skydio 2 drone. I will do some videos on this. I've had it for a while and I've done some videos on my other channel, Shad Life, but I've decided to move all my geek content to this channel, so I'll just redo some of those videos here. They do have a new version of this that has antennas and stuff like that, but aside from that, they're pretty much the same. I think the new one has better range and stuff like that, but this is a sweet drone. Anyway, another video for that. Let's talk about solar, but I used this drone to film the panels and stuff. So, put that aside. So, yes, the house I live in has solar panels on the roof. And I'm going to talk a little bit about the costs to put in solar and a little bit about what we're getting out of the solar. Keep in mind, we are in Minnesota, the Twin Cities metro area. That's Minneapolis, St. Paul combined. And yes, I am fully geeking out with the glasses today. It's like, this is geek pro mode. So we're in a cooler climate. We get snow, things like that. So solar varies throughout the year. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that, and I'm going to talk a little bit about what our gains are. We are hooked up to the grid, meaning we put into the grid when we create more energy than we use, and then we take from the grid when we need energy. So some cool kind of technology there going on. So yeah, I'm going to show you this footage of me flying my drone. I'm not the best drone flyer. I see this footage of people flying drones. It's so smooth and I'm kind of choppy. And it was a little windy today too, so the drone was kind of bumping around. But at least you get the idea of what this setup looks like, and then we'll talk a little bit about it. Okay, so just a cool little video to show you the setup. And what's really cool about the setup is we have a level 2 charger in the garage and solar, and so we're able to charge our cars using solar for the most part, meaning that we're not even, using grid power. I mean, in a way we are if we're using it when there's not enough solar and so on and so forth. But I'll show you the graphs here in a second that show you kind of how we break even. The solar powers the entire house, all the utilities for the house. Some of the things that we want to transition over to, because we still have some things that use gas. The stove is gas. The water heater is gas, and the whole HVAC system, well, the at least the heating side of it is gas powered. So over time, we want to start switching all to all electric. which will use more electricity and probably make us not break even with the solar right now. But at least we're doing a lot better environmental wise and cost wise by moving to electric because we get the solar. So the big question is how much do we get in Minnesota? So let's go look at the graphs because we have this cool app, web app, where we can look at the graphs and see all this data, which is super awesome. So let's take a look at that. Okay, here we are. This is the daily graph. So you can see I have it selected on one day. So it's a 24-hour time period. So, it's what, 11:55 right now. If we scroll up, we get more detailed data. This is what we have for today. So far we've used more than we've saved. If you look here, and of course my image is in the way a little bit, but you'll see these high red things. So this right here is because the VW ID4 is plugged in, and then this spike is, I believe, the water heater on top of it. The water heater uses a lot of energy, and we realize that, which is why we want to replace it. So we're going to work, now that we can see, like, this is all the normal, like, kind of overnight usage of things turning on and off, car being plugged in, and so on and so forth. So it's really cool to be able to see these kind of details. But if you look at the 30-day, the last 30 days, we've generated more energy than we've used. Keep in mind this is September pretty much, so kind of that equinox kind of time period where it transitions from the days are longer and now the days are shorter than 12 hours. So cool to see that we're still generating more than we use. And this is including having 2 EVs that get plugged in. So pretty impressive. So let's go over here. I mean, you can go incrementally and click like how much during this time period here, 3 weeks. We can look for the last month, which is what we just looked at. But what's really cool is if we go to the year, so the solar hasn't been installed for an entire year yet. So if you look at this graph, you can see over here, they hooked everything up mid-November, but it wasn't actually turned on because there had to be inspections and all that stuff till December. And so you can see how we use more than we generate in the wintertime. And you can even kind of tell, like, when did we have the most snow cover. So there isn't a lot of snow. There wasn't just in December going into, but then we got a pretty significant snowfall going into January. But then we had a warm up and the snow melted. It's kind of crazy that this usually this is a climate change thing. We used to get snow cover for a long time, but now we get these warm up periods. It clears the panels, and then we get some generation. And here we got snow cover again, and then you get back coming in closer to spring, and now the snow's off the panels, and then you're gonna have periods where it's cloudy or whatever. And I can't remember if maybe we did get a later season snowfall, and that's why this is here. But you can clearly see that as we went into spring and then summer, where we start generating more solar than we used, which is super cool. So if we look at the data up here, you can clearly see that this is the amount of money, and here's kilowatt hours. So how much should we use? How much have we generated? So my guess is because we still have a couple of months to go before we hit the year, we're going to be really close to breaking even. Now, what makes that so impressive? Let's talk about that. Okay, so why is this so impressive? It's actually better than I expected it to be. Well, it's impressive because when we talked to the company and everything, they wanted, pretty close to breaking even. the amount of panels that we put on, and so on and so forth. How much power do we generate? Things like that. Um, the thing that's impressive about it is we're beating those expectations. And why do I say that? Is because they didn't account for an EV being plugged in. And now we have two EVs being plugged in. So when you think about the fact that gas prices are like right now, they kind of came back down up here, so they're in the upper $3 range, 3.79 I think I just saw, but they spiked up to almost $5 a gallon throughout the summer. So when you really think about it, and you think that we're essentially driving for free, and I do quotes because you have to take in account that these panels weren't free, and I'm going to talk about that in a minute. But we're able to plug in and charge a car, and we're generating enough electricity through solar to power that car that does all the driving we do with it. And it's that just boggles my mind that we're able to do that. So when you see zero emissions on an electric car, I mean, our car is really close to zero emissions because we actually are generating our own power through solar and not off the grid for the most part, meaning that, wherever you live, whatever, right? Here, where we'll check the stats, maybe I'll put them on the screen, but I want to say we're 60 or some percent renewable energy here, or at least not coal. We're not a coal powered region, but it's really cool to see these numbers. I'm really happy with it. So going solar is just absolutely a game changer. Like, the more people that can do this, and again, the more people that can do this, quotes again. Who was the one that famous quote? Was it Chris Farley? I think Chris Farley made the quotes famous. If more people do this on their homes and they're contributing to the grid, it really reduces the strain on the grid. Keep in mind, air conditioning we ran in the summertime, probably not so much anymore. Now we're transitioning over to heat. Heat is gas powered, but if we transition over to electric heat, probably through like a mini split or something like that, and just use gas as backup. We haven't decided yet, but we've got all these options, or just trying to talk through it. But when we do that, we're going to use more from the grid, and it will no longer break even with the solar. But we're talking about maybe putting more panels on the garage, because then that could maybe power the cars. I don't know. There's options. So anyway, to get to all of this, the big question people are going to be asking is, well, what did this cost? What did it cost us to get these panels on a roof? Because it wasn't cheap. But when I really think about it, and when I think about this segment of society that can afford this kind of thing, I think by all means they should start doing it. And when I say people that can afford, we're talking middle or maybe upper middle class areas and families could easily afford this. There are incentives, and depending on where you live, the incentives may vary. But for us, it was roughly $40,000 to have the panels installed. And then we got $10,000 credits for doing that. So in the end, $30,000. So $30,000, and when I think about everything's being powered in the house, and I think about we got two EVs being powered, and we're roughly breaking even, and with the gas prices and stuff, this system's going to pay for itself pretty quickly. Don't know the math today. I'm going to continue a series on this, especially if I start installing more electric things. But I'll do an updated one talking a little bit more about the costs and how long it might take for these to pay for itself. But we also have to realize this is also helping us pay for the extra cost of buying an EV at the same time. Like, it's a no-brainer if you can afford it. I'm going to always keep that in quotes because there's a lot of people out there that just simply can't afford it. There's people out there that don't own homes, things like that. So I think there's some laughing in the background. I need an actual studio for doing my YouTube channel, this channel and the other channel, but don't have one yet. Anyway, so yeah, this is it, going solar. If you have any questions or things I might not have covered that you're curious about, please post in the comments. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. I really am a proponent of getting more people to add solar if they can afford it, and so on and so forth on their homes, because I really think this huge thing we have with the grid issues and things like that, especially now as more EVs start coming online, the more people that put solar on their houses, they're going to relieve a lot of strain on the grid, and so on and so forth. It's a simple way to do it versus expecting that our governments should do it, or that our utilities should be building these massive solar farms and massive wind farms and things like that. Yes, by all means, I hope they continue to do that, but we can each individually help reduce the strain, and in the long run, it's going to save us a lot of money. Lots of money. And gas prices are not going to get any cheaper. I mean, they may fluctuate some, but as we're past peak oil, as we move further away from peak oil, and oil becomes a more finite resource, prices are just going to keep going up. So we got to stop fueling vehicles with oil, because by doing so, we're wasting a very valuable resource that we use for so many other things. Plastics is a big one. Lots of petroleum products out there, even in the medical field, things like that. Things where petroleum is more important. We need to stop using it for powering our vehicles just to transport around. Now that we have the technology to go away from it, we should stop wasting it. Cool. That'll be a whole nother topic too. Anyway, if you like this kind of content, hit subscribe. It'll get my videos in your feed, and then like this video if you like it. I really appreciate your support. Awesome. Peace.